But what I would do is I'd like to introduce my colleague, Izumi Sone from Nofima. And can you hear me, Izumi?
Yes, I can hear you.
Good. It's good to hear from you. Izumi is responsible for the fourth work package, which is quality. So she's going to be telling us all about how we are relating welfare to the quality and how we can improve quality in this fishery. So over to you, Izumi. Good luck.
Thank you very much for the very nice introduction. Yes, I'm very thrilled and honored to be given this opportunity to present at the platform conference. Just building on what Mike just talked about, I will go more deeper into looking at the relationship between tuna catch welfare and product quality. Before I start, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Izumi Sone, and I work as a research scientist at Nofima in Stavanger in Norway. And I'm a Japanese living in Norway for about half of my life, actually. So as many of you know, bluefin tuna is and can be a very highly profitable fisheries. And this year in 2024, a single tuna fish weighing 238 kilograms was sold for $789,000. And just to put it on the perspective, this is equivalent to about $3,300 per kilo. And by comparison, Norwegian salmon, also very profitable, has a kilo price of $10. So you can see how expensive and outrageous, maybe you might say, this is. But this was not the record that they have so far had. Back in 2019, they had a smashing price of $2.53 million for a single fish weighing 278 kilograms. So you can understand very much when I say it can be very profitable bluefin tuna. The price it can get is very much dependent on the quality and the quality evaluation done by professionals. And these are men or women, but they even consider themselves are a craftsman, and what they do is really the art of quality and evaluation, what they call meikiki. So the price quality is very much important for the price that fish will get, and also the profitability of the industry. One of the major defects that you can experience in tuna fish is called, as presented by Mike already, is a burnt tuna syndrome, yake, which in Japanese means cooked. So you have two pictures in front of you. One to the left shows unburnt tuna fish that have a nice red color, translucent, and it has a firm texture. But when the tuna fish gets burnt, it turns pale, and sorry, I need to get turns pale, as you can see in this arrowed regions, and it gets soft, and it can even have a sour taste and smell. So why does this happen in tuna fish? There have been many theories. One that is traditional and still a very much held belief is that it has to do with the high temperature in the tuna muscle. Tuna fish are considered as thermal prisoners that are incapable of releasing the heat it generates when they swim, and they can. It is said that they can cook themselves by swimming too fast. Another hypothesis that has been very widely accepted is that yake has to do with the ability of tuna muscle to produce extremely large quantities of lactic acid that would lead to a low pH And because of this low pH, it will degrade the certain protein fractions. And these two main theories and beliefs in the industry has led to rapid cooling as an industry standard to prevent yaki. However, we also know that tuna fish has an extremely high buffering capacity that will make it unlikely the pH goes down as much as it is claimed. And there are also several contradicting field of observations. For example, you have more yake in summer than in winter, and more in female than male. And yake can also happen in fish that have fought for a relatively short time during a capture. When we look at the muscle structures of and compare between unburnt and burnt tuna fish muscle, you can see a burnt muscle to the right, and where you see a very fragmented and disintegrated region called Z discs that is pretty much intact when the fish is unburnt. And this is there are several enzymes in the fish muscle, but there is only few that can do this work. And this enzyme is called calpain. So another theory of why burnt tuna syndrome has to do with the enzyme calpain and its work on the muscle degradation. And this calpain have two very distinctive characteristics. One is that it operates at the relatively high pH than the other enzymes, and it is activated by calcium ions. And based on these two characteristics, it has been also hypothesized that burnt tuna syndrome has to do with the amount of glycogen in muscle at capture and how it affects the post-mortem pH. And the amount of glycogen is depending on many factors. For example, nutritional history of individual fish. There is normally a low amount of glycogen found in females during reproduction than the others. And it has also to do with water temperature, because water temperature affects the feed availability, therefore a nutritional status, and also the metabolic rate. And last but not least, the amount of glycogen left in the muscle at capture has a lot to do with the behavior of the fish at capture. So all of this can explain can also account for individual school to school and seasonal variation that have been observed in terms of the occurrence of burnt tuna syndrome. So in our work in the Well Tuna project, we aim to elucidate the relationship between welfare and quality, and that's through the multidisciplinary approach that Mike just described. So we have a team, a very unique team with expertise on capture, behavior, stunning, welfare, and quality. And by combining these knowledge and expertise together and taking data from the same fish as Mike just presented, we also aim to understand the variations that we see also in the quality. And for a bigger perspective, when we manage to connect the welfare with the product quality and with the price, that our documentation and knowledge will also provide economic incentives to welfare and sustainability. So in addition to this, we are also developing industry guidelines for post-capture and quality inspections. And with that, we hope to contribute to increased profitability of the emerging tuna fish industry in Norway. As Mike mentioned, that there is still a lack of standardized quality infrastructure in place for the industry to be completely successful. And with these guidelines, that we hope that to provide a framework and language that they can use to communicate the quality of the tuna fish they send out to the market. And to do that, it's very important the framework and the guidelines that we develop are internationally recognized, especially by the Japanese market. So for this, during our first season this year in the project, we got help from two Japanese professionals, Moriwaka-san and Igari-san, who are in the reference group. Moriwaka-san is a pioneer of Boston tuna fish, meaning that he was one of the first to bring the tuna fish from Boston, US, into the Japanese market. And Igari-san is a very experienced quality inspector operating around the Mediterranean seas. So with their help, we developed the instructions and demonstration films for processing and quality inspections. And the scheme for quality inspection is we took inspiration from the Norwegian pelagic industry. So you will see some similarities. One of the main components was to show how to do a sampling for tuna fish, because it's very unique and distinctive. So one is to use this very long metal it's called sashibo, stuck to collect samples from a certain part of the body, fish body. And in the guideline, we show them how to insert this sashibo in the right angles and how to interpret and could evaluate the sample that we collect with sashibo. And we also cover the instructions for the half moon slice and tail cut slice, because these different sampling positions are used for evaluating different quality parameters. For example, the half moon piece from the tail is mainly used for color and fat content, while the sashibo is used mainly for the evaluating yake, whether there is a yake or not. So based on for each of these quality parameters, we have developed a scoring system 1 to 5. And I just wanted to show a very small example. And this is just one example of the scoring system for the fat content, with a description of how these the fish can be scored. And all of these scores from different parameters will be added up to give a total grade on the fish from A to C. So that's the scoring system that we have developed in the project. So I wanted to finish this presentation with this one slide. I just came back from Japan 2 days ago, where I got to meet several actors along the tuna value chains, and they all agree that Norway have access to a raw material of superior quality. But there are still many questions that need to be answered for the emerging industry. For example, where to sell. We are in Norway, but the biggest market is in US, Japan, and the rest of Europe. And this question, of course, rise another one: how and where to transport, and its effect on the freshness and the quality. And there are, of course, many marketing perspectives, whether we should market the Norwegian tuna fish as a premium or just average. Should we aim for frozen or fresh market? Because this affects distribution, but also the way the fish is evaluated using these different samples. The quality is important, but the price is also affected by the market supply. For example, Japan, a lot of industries aim towards it, but at the same time, there can be a period of oversupply in Japan because they have a very successful tuna farming. Another thing that is that tuna fish is a fish that requires quite a bit of manual processing. So for a country like Norway with high labor costs, what does this mean? What would be the minimum price that we have to aim for in order for the industry to be profitable? Within this project, we work a lot towards sustainability and welfare, but how can we communicate this knowledge and to turn it into a market value of Norwegian tuna fish to make it more unique and profitable? And of course, the quota has been increasing over the years. With how will that develop for the upcoming years? Will that continue to increase, or will that have it reach the top or not? So there are many questions to be answered besides what we specifically work on within the Wild Tuna project. So thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any questions, if you have any questions, I can take it now, or if the time allows, or you can send me an email. I'll be very happy to discuss further with you.
Hi, Izumi. Is that Craig coming on? I don't think Craig's presenting. We keep Izumi online, or have we lost her?
No, I'm still here.
Okay.
No, I've just raised my hand for a question.
Okay. Well, go ahead, Craig.
So thank you, Mike, and thank you, Izumi, for both of your presentations. Both were very informative. I just wanted, as you were giving the presentations, I just caught a few notes that I thought were quite interesting and reflect things that I've seen personally in the fisheries and that we hear about quite often. So firstly, Mike, the interesting observation of the tuna going back to the school once they've been hooked. And interestingly, tuna often follow the captured tuna to the boat, right? And that's actually a technique used in places like South Africa, where they'll hook a fish on the back lines and then bring it to the boat slowly, and then the other tuna follow, and that allows them to capture more tuna at the boat. So right. I'm not sure what behavioral quality that is in the tuna that causes them to do that. But yeah, that's something that we've also seen in the past.
Well, it's I mean,
go on, Mike.
we know with schooling animals, schooling fish, there's a strong affinity between animals. They do try and stay together, so it's maybe just relying on that. It would be good to get more data on it, of course, and look at that in more detail. But I mean, if it's an established method in the fishery, obviously fishermen are very knowledgeable about fish behaviour, and so it'd be good to chat with those fishermen and learn more. So thank you. That's a nice observation. In terms of our observations from the cameras, at the moment we've only seen that on 2 fish. Two fish went back to the school.
Yeah. It's very established in the South African albacore fishery as a way to bring that albacore close to the boat.
No, okay.
I got a couple more points.
Please go ahead.
But I don't want to hog the question and answer time. So the second one was about your the graph of the movement of the velocity of fish.
Yep.
Just again, an anecdotal observation. I don't know if it's the same for bluefin as it is for yellowfin, but yellowfin, when they come up to the surface, have a very predictable pattern. They swim round in a circle, either clockwise or anti-clockwise.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, like, other than a very few bursts of energy, they essentially rise to the boat in that clockwise pattern, and that's what makes them like easier to gaff, easier to play when you're fighting the fish. And I wonder if that would play out in those velocity curves of these fish just doing these nice neat circles.
Well, also in those tags is a magnetometer. So with that magnetometer, if it's properly calibrated, we should be able to get some information about turning as well. So yeah, that will be interesting to look at. Is to look at not only the energy they're putting into that swimming activity, but in fact how that activity plays out in 3 dimensions. But that's an interesting anecdote. So thank you for that. I'll take that back to Neil when we're doing the analysis. Yeah. Thank you.
And then my final point, which goes to Izumi. So Izumi, you mentioned that fish that fought hard or fought for a short time often had more yaki, right? And this is something that we've observed in Oman. So I'm actually in Oman at the moment, about to deliver a training in a couple of days. But previously, when we went out with fishermen in Oman, they were pulling the tuna so quickly. And what would happen is when they get to the boat, they're still full of energy. There's still, a lot of life left in them. And when we'd get those fish back and we'd do all of the sampling and grading, we would always find yaki. So we actually worked with fishermen and convinced them to slow down the fighting period. And in some, we actually used another technique, which is where you wrap the line around a floating buoy, let the fish go, let it run around for 20 minutes, and then start reeling it back in. And that would significantly reduce the yaki and improve the quality. So you'd see less burning in the meat with that. So again, just another anecdote, but something that's been shown to have positive effects on the quality of the meat.
Thank you very much. It's very interesting to hear the real life example.
I can see some questions in the chat, and Mike was so kind to answer them, but people are not able to see each other's questions.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I want to read some out loud. Yeah. So Doug Whaley from Eurogroup for Animals asked, why is ikejime not one of the slaughter methods considered?
Yeah, that was my bad. I should have put something on the slide about that. We are actually looking at ikejime, but what I focused on in that work package was how we're going to stun the animals before applying ikejime. But ikejime is being considered as one of the killing methods, and that's included in that work package. If we get enough fish, which isn't looking great at the moment, we'd like to do a controlled study on it, sort of comparing animals, particularly animals which have been pithed, i.e. the second part of the ikejime method, which is to destroy the spinal cord, or not. But that's going to be dependent on the number of fish we can get.
So am I right that it's more a killing method than it is a stunning method? Hans, do you have anything to say about that?
You'll need to come in front of the camera, Hans.
Yeah.
Hi, just a brief message. I fully understand why ikejime is used, because it's really essential for an optimal product quality. But we know from spiking of salmon that consciousness is not lost immediately. That's why Mike is telling you all that we need to study it in more detail, because this is what we're also aiming for, to make sure that consciousness is lost immediately. So we protect the animal the best way we can. Yep. That's my comment. Thank you.
Right.
Very good. Thanks you, Hans. Much appreciated.
Another one, Mike on Surveillance, what are the apex predators are being boycotted when pursuing maybe that's a better. Maybe you can address that question later when it's about purseine. Is that a good idea?
We could, but I can answer it now. I mean,
Yeah,
that was from Sebastian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My concern relates to what other apex predators are being bycaught when purseiners catch tuna in Norway. Any marine mammals, given that schools of tuna associated with dolphins, for example.
Yeah. So marine mammals, bycatch is a problem in several tuna fisheries around the world using purseine, but those fisheries tend to use FADs, so floating aggregation devices, and then circle around those to take the catch. The tuna fishery, the purseine fishery in Norway doesn't use FADs, and we don't really have an issue with mammal bycatch as of yet. But we're obviously keeping a close eye on it.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. Let me have a look at time. Well, the rest I think you already answered.
I think
specifically,
Stephen's got a question.
Stefan?
Yes, here I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Loud and clear, Stephen.
Loud and clear. Okay, thank you. Thanks for the very interesting presentations. It was indeed. I think it's also a very good initiative.
Thank you.
Of the fisheries itself to get more data and to get more information.
Absolutely. Yeah.
On this issue, and great initiative. I had another question a bit about these interesting graphics on the use of energy, basically oxygen, when the bluefin is diving. It was interesting to see, but the logic says that probably that is a moment that can cause a lot of yucky. Because of the enormous, it's a stressful experience. There's a lot of oxygen and energy spilled. Do you have any information if that diving indeed causes a lot of stress and has a bad influence on the quality of the meat?
Well, that's exactly the question we're trying to answer. It's not just the diving per se. It's how much energy the animal puts into the fight, resisting the capture. So the very reason we're using that tag is to try and sum up that amount of energy, and the associated oxygen consumption. Although that's just to correlate. So look at that and then relate that to the physiological stress indicators that we see from the samples we take from the fish. So that's one of the main objectives of that particular work package is to make that linkage and then continue that linkage on into the quality of the meat that we take from those individual fish. So do we see very high energy fights associated with high levels of physiological stress indicators, lactate, for example, cortisol, and then does that relate to incidence of yaki? Hopefully all related in the same fish. That's the objective. We still need to collect the data.
Okay, thank you.